The definition of a seller's market is when you have something of value and the market is willing to pay a premium for it. Low inventory leads to higher prices. No matter what the mortgage rates are, you have to have the product to sell.
We are showing houses to buyers. I'll use this as an example. What do you have in this price range? Well, there's one place and it's in escrow. And we'll drive a neighborhood and go, okay, that house, just sold for 1.5. We'll go over here. These, you can get one of those for 900 if you want something smaller. But there's nothing available. Here's what we're telling buyers. Drive around, tell us the neighborhoods you like or the houses you like.
We'll go find it.
And we'll see it because it's not available right now. So that's how you educate a buyer. I mean, can you imagine that, going shopping for a car? We have no cars to show you.
It's like window shopping.
But this model, if we ever get a car to show you, this model runs about $30,000. I mean, that's what it is.
The June Market Report is for those who thirst to see beyond the headlines and get the full story of SLO County Real Estate. Here's your host, James Bueno.
Welcome to a beautiful San Luis Obispo once again for the SLO County Real Estate with Hal Swayze. Hal Swayze is here with us. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great, James. Glad to be back here in the studio.
Awesome, yes. And the man in the Hawaiian shirt himself is here with us, Mr. JT. How are you?
Aloha.
Well, look at you, even through the Aloha sign at me. Wait, is that the Aloha sign? Or is that the
Hang loose, brother.
Hang loose sign, brother? My bad. And then the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. J. Pete. How are you, sir?
I'm ecstatic.
Ecstatic, as always. And then Mr. Kingman's here as well.
Hello.
Oh, hello. There he is.
Right.
My mic's down, but it's
Mine's
fine.
down, too.
Hey, Jay,
Yeah. We lost a little bit of-
Can
there
you
we
spell
go.
ecstatic?
No, I can't.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's what spell check is for. You just
Right.
got to get close on your phone or just, use the microphone. But anyways.
John's not spell check. He's just spelled, hey, you screwed it up. Go figure it
Spell
out.
focus.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that's not
There's
right.
a red line underneath
That's
it.
not right.
It's misspelled.
But Jay is the best dressed here with the
Jay is. He's
jacket.
Yeah, I knew I was gonna be on radio today.
I'm going to say Jay is usually the best dressed, but Mr. Kingman looks good right now.
His hair's
Yeah, we had a kindergarten graduation on the day that this is being recorded. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to dress up for that.
JT.
You're hurting my feelings.
No,
Yeah.
we were clear about this last time. Anytime we're in Hawaii, you are the best dressed. So we're not in Hawaii at the moment, but you look great.
Well, let's face it. John's wearing the outfit we all want to wear.
Exactly. Well,
He's earned the right too. Whereas
not
I've
too
still
far.
got to. I still got to show some face.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
trying to make an impression on the world. John's already made it. He's just.
John's got it. He's done.
He's in the cage, just hitting every ball that's thrown at him. Whereas we're still trying to find the right
Oh,
one.
baseball reference. Love it.
I like it.
JT.
We're not even in the cage. Yeah.
Not even in the cage.
Nice going, meat.
Yeah. All right.
I was waiting for that.
All right, let's do it. We got numbers up on the screen. It's the beginning of the month. Let's go ahead and do how we're going to do a market update.
Yeah, let's do a little market. We're going to have some fun, too, because we've read in the papers what's happening in the market, so we know that. But John's going to have some fun with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's look at the smile on his face.
yeah.
He's gonna start busting out some numbers.
Did you get in trouble a lot in school as a kid? Never mind. You don't have to answer that.
Instigator.
Do you remember back in those days, teachers had paddles?
Right.
And they'd use them on the kids.
Right. The tough ones would, but there are others who.
And then they'd drill holes in the paddles so it'd sting more.
For speed.
Well, they had no air resistance.
Yeah.
I do have some experience in that regard.
Okay, got it.
That's
okay.
a big paddle that you need holes in it to get a faster swing. Jeez, John.
Yeah. Leaves a nice taste.
Headlines, Tribune yesterday. Sales plunge even as prices keep rising. How about that? Sales plunge. If you didn't take time to read the entire article, which for content, right, you'd go sales plunge, you'd go, oh, housing prices are falling. Because the second half is even as housing prices keep rising.
Right.
They're trying to create confusion. So you pick it's startling, right? Price plunge. Let me grab that article and find out what they're talking about. And then they turn it around even in the headline, right?
Yeah. You know the definition of plunge? In month over month, it went down 4.6%. Plunge.
Well, they probably were not looking at month over. I mean, if they were looking at April and May, and we knew what was happening, we knew it was getting better here. But when you go back and use those stats from a long time ago, you can find something in there that doesn't sound so hot.
Okay. Now, those headlines were for the month of April. So you've got,
Most likely.
we don't deal in old numbers around here, right? You've got numbers today
Yeah.
for May.
So let's think about real estate. There's a delay. So if you closed in May, it meant something happened, maybe April, right? That sort of thing. So here's what we saw. We saw the active listings actually less this year than a year ago. So that's the first time we've said that in a bit, right? The active listing shows lower, which you hear about. We hear that from our buyers because there's not many choices, and we know that's the case because any reasonable home is getting multiple offers. So you're seeing a lot of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Pendings 216. So we're up 10% over last month. So 10% more pendings than a month ago.
So for someone that's not in the business, what is when you call something pending?
Right.
Tell our audience what that means.
Yeah, that means a buyer and seller have agreed on something and they're just working to get to the closing. So it's a good leading indicator, I guess you'd call
So
it.
that's what we call being in escrow.
Be in escrow.
Okay, good.
Yeah, pending in escrow. Yeah, good clarification. And it's only down 4% from a year ago. So that's about 5 houses, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, and these are county-wide numbers in San Luis
This is for the
Obispo
county. Yeah, basically we track Napomo to Paso.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then here's the interesting one. Closed sales, okay, down about 4% from a year ago. Last year was a record year in the United States of America, 6.9 million sales.
Wow.
This year they're predicting like 4.5, 4.6. So that's a 50. So that's where the plunging is coming from, right? Oh, a lot less sales, homes being sold. Does the average homeowner or buyer really care about that? I don't really know if they do. Yeah, they're just more considering like what's their trajectory, what does it mean for me as an owner or a potential buyer. So we've seen a drop in sales overall.
And those, Hal, you're something very specific. You're talking about San Luis County numbers. John, were those numbers in the trib, were those county numbers? Or was
Yeah,
that
I think they were county numbers.
Okay.
A lot of times people, like I had someone say the other day, hey, my friend's an appraiser from out of town. They said prices are up 7%. Well, is that true? Well, 7% from a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, for what period of time?
That's like such an open statement.
It's very difficult. So the numbers we try to use, and we do use, we look at, what's their trajectory, what's happening with them. And the big one we saw here for sure is, so sales are about the same, but month over month, we had 50% more houses close in May than in April. Okay, so that means
That's substantial.
end of February, March, April, busy time, and we're seeing that that's a big deal.
So if the year ended up that you if we in this county had 80% of the number of sales that we had in our biggest year ever, 80% of the record, would that be a decent year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a huge year.
So 221.
221 closed in May.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 221 times 2, we got a buyer side and a seller side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's 442 times 12 is 4,800. That's 5,300 sides for the year. If every month was that
Right.
number. Our biggest year, I think, was 6,600 sides, 3,300 transactions, 6,600 sides. That's a good month.
Well, yeah, and
per
it's a
number of
big
sales.
month. It's a big month. Yeah, and again, to compare against the craziest market, we may ever see.
right.
Yeah, it's not really a fair
2022.
comparison, but people worry which way it's going. So then we talk about why are these prices going up? Here's the big number. We have 126 new listings came onto the market last month. 126, but we had 220 close escrow. So we've been talking about this for a while. So there's virtually almost twice as many homes closing as new homes coming in to fill it in.
Yeah, so there's fewer and fewer properties for sale.
Right. So if that continues, we don't have enough houses to sell.
We don't. And I
Right.
think we're going to see the days on market decrease.
I mean, every time I go sit with a property owner, I look at like, okay, in general in this price range, what's the supply of homes? We usually it's about a month.
30 days, yeah.
Right. If we have 3 close a month, we usually have 3 or 4 on the market, 2 to 3, whatever. So it's still a very seller's market. It's not a 7-day market when it was really crazy. When has it ever been, the average days on the market is 7 to sell a house?
That's a nightmare.
And if you look at the closings, like I'll give a list of, like 20 houses before I get to the specific one. I mean, single digits in terms of days on the market, very common for well-priced homes. And then we see homes that have been on the market 2, 3, 4 months, and they usually have a 3 to 6% discounted price to sell those houses.
Gotcha. So priced properly, they come off the market pretty quickly. But if they're overpriced, they're going to sit there.
They sit and they usually end
Yeah.
up going for a little bit less. So
Yeah.
pricing's still important, but all I'm saying is we have more buyers than sellers.
So with all this data that we've been talking about for the last few minutes, what's probably the number one topic people want to learn from us as we predict the future, right? They
Yeah.
want to know what's the impact of all this stuff we're talking about on what?
Pricing.
So can prices come down in this county based on the data that we're seeing here?
The buyers would have to go away. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing the demand higher now than ever before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, speaking of newspaper articles, read another one.
Oh, let's hear this one.
Re-
Is this from the?
pricing?
Can I use names of magazines?
Yes.
Is this from the Inquirer? Because I see you bringing that in a lot.
Is that even a thing ananymore?
Is it? I don't know. Is it? Or
I don't
not?
think so.
Oh. Well, people get it.
I mean,
Yeah,
No,
they know it.
Sports Illustrated.
people that are over 80 like us get it. Yes, they've been around.
No, but in some of our bigger cities in this state, we have seen some prices roll back a little bit.
I'm sure,
as much
yeah.
as 10 to 15%,
Probably.
which is a big number. You take
That's a
average
big number,
price in
yeah.
San Francisco, and 10 or 15% is a
$3 million.
big
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, now
$100,000.
those poor people only for $3 million. Canal only sell for 2.6.
Oh.
Yeah,
But what the
And take
article
their
said
basis
is
down here.
yeah.
is that we're kind of a bubble here. We haven't seen the price rollbacks as a general rule.
San Luis Obispo County is seen as a desirable section of California, whereas some of the metros may not be. Is that what causes this bubble that you speak of? I mean, it's got to be something.
The weather, the people, the mountains, the ocean, the vineyards, the
Better quality of
citrus
life.
groves.
I mean, it's just a better quality of life.
No traffic, less crime.
Yeah.
We covered it all, right?
Chamber owes us.
Yeah.
Best place in the world to live.
That was all just off the top of your
Yeah.
Contact your local visitors and conference bureau.
But can we go back to inventory for a second?
Absolutely.
How many properties are for sale as of the end of business yesterday?
270.
270. When I first started going on your website many years ago to just keep my eye on real estate as a hobby, there were 270 houses in San Luis Obispo alone, the city,
Yeah.
for sale. So now we've got a county with 270.
270.
I remember being 400 or 500 homes for sale.
Yeah,
in San Luis Obispo.
550.
Yeah.
Those were typical. I would say typical years of real estate activity, where properties are on the days on the market or 90 days, probably 3 to 5 months worth of inventory.
Yeah.
That was a healthy, stable market. It's not really what we call a buyer's market until there's over 6 months worth of inventory.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the last time I saw that since 2010.
That is amazing, though.
13
right?
years.
But I do know this number for sure because it's just sketched in my memory, and I've shared it in multiple podcasts. May of COVID, which was what, 2020, right? COVID
Right.
year?
Yeah. 2020.
880,
Wow,
270 today,
that's a haircut.
and 880
That is.
we thought was low.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just gives perspective to our listening audience of what's going on with inventory. We've been saying this since we started this podcast. So we just, I mean, I don't know if you're all in the same boat as I am. I just don't see prices in our county going backwards anytime soon.
Yeah. It'd take a major something. Real estate doesn't move that fast, right? So our rates, Jay, we were just talking about that, are still hovering
In this-
today around
yeah.
6.5-ish, right?
Mid sixes, yeah.
Yeah, mid sixes, what people are used to, well below historical averages, right?
Yeah.
Which is, what is it, 8% over the last 40 years, John? Is that the number?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just 781, I think, is the average for 40 years.
Yeah. So, and we've talked about this. People are now, it's like, oh, this is what
Yeah.
mortgages are.
So I bought a house in Rio Grande 16 years ago, 6.5%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then that was a decent rate.
Yeah.
Still is, comparatively speaking.
Right. We are showing houses to buyers. I'll use this as an example. Coming to town, what do you have in this price range? Well, there's one place, and it's an escrow. And we'll drive a neighborhood and go, okay, that house, just sold for 1.5. We'll go over here. These, you can get one of those for 900 if you want something smaller. But there's nothing available.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So here's what we're telling buyers: drive around, tell us the neighborhoods you like or the houses you like.
We'll go find it.
And we'll see it because it's not available right now. So that's how you educate a buyer. I mean, can you imagine that, going shopping for a car? We have no cars to show you.
It's like window
but
shopping,
this
yeah.
model, if we ever get a car to show you, this model runs about $30,000. I mean, that's what it is.
That's what happened absolutely in COVID. You couldn't get chips to
Well,
build
that
cars.
too, yeah.
So, so people I think people can really relate to it. If you were looking to buy a car in 21, 22, you couldn't. You were on a wait list.
Yeah, you remember driving by lots, and they would have like 5 cars on the lot, and they would be like, nothing you wanted. They're like fleet vehicles.
Yeah.
And you're saying that's what you're up against.
Similar.
In this business.
Yeah.
That's
But you'd buy
fascinating.
one of those cars if it was full of toilet paper.
Yeah.
Right?
And hand sanitizer.
Yeah, and hands
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is that they're not building inventory fast enough to compete to keep up with the demand.
So that was my question for you guys. How much do you communicate with new home builders in the area to know how quickly when they build a house, or before they build a house, how quickly they get buyers into those homes?
I know a few of the reps at different places, so we track their sales, what they have, are they selling stuff off market? So not as frequently as I probably should, because every time we get a new little subdivision, like I remember Sarah Meadows in San Luis when it came on the market. I mean, they were providing a really good product for like $600,000 that was a better value than a resale. The lots were a little bit smaller, but we would look at like 40 or 50 pendings at any given time, and more than half were in this Sarah Meadows development. Now there's just not enough. There might be 3 or 4 condos. There's not many houses left. It's not much of an impact. But I want to talk about, too, the things that go into this, because John believes so much in real estate, right? Owning it as a hedge against, just for all the reasons for home ownership. And the one I always look at is like, gosh, if I would have bought 5 years ago, okay, my house was cheaper, my mortgage was cheaper, and now we're having some insurance challenges, right, where insurance companies cannot make money on their insurance, so they're either pulling out, right? So now to get insurance, so all these things, it becomes more and more expensive. It's like building a house, right? It used to be, 30 years ago, it would have been pretty easy. Now?
$30,000 in city fees alone,
Fees,
another $30,000
architecture,
in
slow down,
yeah.
design, everything just costs so much. So, to what John is always preaching, if you can get your foot in the door, it's not getting any easier. The forms we use, we're 16 pages now for an offer.
Sure.
It used to be you could put just the price and when do I close. That's all anybody cares about.
Yeah.
But there's 16. The complication level of building, buying, insuring, all that sort of thing. So if you can be in, you're going to be in below what it costs to make something. What if you could buy a car for, it costs $50 to build and you can buy it for $40?
Yeah, you're buying it for $40.
It's just interesting. So, I just find this fascinating as we see all these things come on and people have nervousness about it. I just don't know where it comes from. Maybe this article you brought in. Why do you keep bringing these articles in?
I got nothing better.
All right, gentlemen, great information. Does anybody have anything else they want to share?
Yeah, I got another article.
Okay.
How you like that? Huh?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, I got this from Jeff. So
Uh-oh.
you can't blame me for
Okay.
this one.
All right.
No, but it's an article about from Gallup doing studies. Views of the U.S. housing market reach new depths. Views of the housing market. So this is Gallup surveying the public as to what they think their belief is, in the housing market. Is it a good time to buy a house? In 1980, just over 50% of the people said it was a good time to buy a house. Think it was a good time to buy a house?
What were interest rates in 1980? I was 5, so.
I bought a house in 1978 and 84. 78, I assumed a 9.75% loan.
Assume, so that wasn't the rate.
It wasn't the rate.
like 12.
And I thought I'd stolen it. In 1984, I got a 10.5 on a 5-1 and thought I had stolen it. So
10 and a half on 5 years. So the 30 years that everybody quotes is
30
going to be
year was
higher.
probably 12 or 13.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. So 80%.
So 50% thought it was a good time. In 1990, about 70%. It peaked in about 2003, 4. Right about 80% of people thought that it was a good time to buy a house.
2003 or 4. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Today, 21% of people think it's a good time to buy a house.
Right.
Well, and who's participating in this poll? What the
I thought it
demographics
was
we
just
don't know.
the Gallup's annual economy and personal finance poll conducted.
Well, that's one thing that will bring prices down is if the demand for ownership just dries up. Look at a generation like the Zers, right? They prefer to have a less income, less ownership, less to maintain, and yet a higher quality of life. But what drives them isn't ownership. What drives them isn't maintaining a house. What drives them is travel and fun and a light and easy lifestyle. I will start to see if they even have kids, because that's a major obligation. But I don't see that happening. What will happen if those people decide, okay, listen, I'm not going to buy. I don't want to buy. A big chunk of our population says, we're never going to own a home because we don't want to be tied down. Guess what happens? All the investors are going to swoop in and they're going to gobble up all these homes and they're going to be competing against each other and continue to keep prices in the right spot.
And why are they going to swoop in?
Because they've got a huge
rental pool, right?
Yeah,
Most people are
huge
renting
rental
houses.
pool.
Yeah.
They've stated clearly they don't want to own. They don't want to be tied down by home ownership. Well, they're going to be tied down by increased expenses as the rent goes up every year.
If we don't increase our inventory, we aren't going to need a lot of people to
No, that's true.
Right.
want to buy a house.
Yeah.
But here's the point I want to make here. Just 3 years ago, just over 50% of the people said it was a good time to buy a house. If you'd have bought a house 3 years ago in this county, what percentage of appreciation would you have received in the last 3 years?
You would at least be a 20% increase. At least.
Oh, I think you're undershooting.
Yeah, I'm talking about the entire county. Like, 'cause
Okay.
you're not going to have those huge levels of appreciation in, let's see, San Miguel or Atascadero, but you certainly saw, or like San Luis has been kind of bobbing at the top at $1 million, $1.1 million for the past couple of years. And you've got small sections out in the scenic coast area, but like Morro Bay, Los Osos, Cayucas. But like if you look at Paso Robles in particular, or South Counties, Pismo, Arroyo Grande, they had 17 to 20% appreciation, year over year. So you've got huge gains. So again, to your point, John, if you'd bought 3 years ago, when 50% of the population said yes, you would at least see 20 to 25% gain in your property's value. So $600,000, you're looking at another $180,000 in profit or in gain that you wouldn't have realized.
I have something stuck in my head from the late 90s when I was in the financial services business. And from 95 to 2000, I think the average rate of return in the S&P 500 was somewhere around 18% for those 5 years. That was a good 5-year run.
Hello.
Hell yeah.
And the average American made what during those 5 years? When the average rate of return was 18%, what did the average American realize?
I'm guessing significantly less.
3%.
3%.
The average American,
Their portfolio or whatever. Yeah.
they realized a 3% return when the market was doing 18. Because the idea of investing in any investment is to buy low and
Sell high.
So high.
So, but the public, when it comes to the stock market, oh God, hey Jay, did you see my brother-in-law's stock? It just went up 50% in the last week. You ought to buy some.
Oh, of course, because it's up 50%.
Yeah.
Sure.
And oh dang, my stock just dropped 50% in the last week. I'm selling.
Dump it. Backwards thinking.
That's how the Americans do it. Yeah. And so Gallup decides how smart are we going to be. We're going to interview the same people that make 3% in the stock market and ask them if it's a good time to buy a house when we know every day in the history of the world has been a good time to buy a house. So these things drive me absolutely nuts. I'm done.
Oh,
And on that note,
yes. I get it. Drop the report.
Yeah, JT, I love your passion for it. It's great.
So they didn't interview any of the buyers in our county because we have more of them than we have sellers, right?
I tell you what, anybody who's bought a house in this county in the last 50 years is smart, if you ask me.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be smart.
Finally. Yeah.
I've been
We
acknowledged.
did
by
it. Yay, gold star for you. All right, gentlemen, does anybody have anything left?
No, thanks, Jay.
No, we're great. Okay, good. Everybody, thank you for listening. We appreciate each and every one of you for listening to our craziness every once in a while. And thank you all. We'll see everybody next week.
See you, gents.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the House Swayze podcast. Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast. It comes out every Monday, so check for it in your feed for the latest information on the San Luis Obispo County market. The SLO County Real Estate with House Swayze podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and on houseswayze.com, where you can find current listings and other real estate tips. Houseswayze.com, that's HALSWEASEY.com. I am James Bueno, Director of Marketing for the House Swayze Group. If you're looking for anything real estate, give us a call, 805-781-3750.
Now, Swayze is a licensed California real estate broker. DRE number 011119111. SLO County Real Estate with Hal Swayze podcast is a production of AGM Podcasts. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.